Good morning, players! My name is Dungeon Master Andrew with Natural 40 Games, and this is a new little segment that I like to call Does Anybody Speak Giants? Where I'm going to go over some nitty gritty things about how I run my games and talk about the rules of stuff. There's a few topics I want to cover. Number one, the 2024 Player's Handbook. The rollout of this book has been fantastic. I got it early as a pre-order at my local game store, and they are absolutely lovely there. Support your local game stores. On D&D Beyond, it's been a little bit rockier. The digital tools are having trouble displaying all the options correctly on the character sheet tool. I have heavily recommended to all of my players to use paper character sheets in all of my in-person games, and in my online games, I've got one of them is only 2024, so only 2014, pardon me, and has not affected. The other one, some of the players are using some of the new options, and there was a little hiccup on character sheet display. So have the book handy if you're using the new rules. Now, in terms of actual implementation, I am running 6 campaigns right now, and in 5 of them, one of them is the hardcore game, so that's 2014 only. In the other 5, players can choose to use options from the new handbook interchangeably as the old one. And I felt like that was the best way to handle things going forward, because player choice is so important to this game, because this is the essence of Dungeons and Dragons. I will come up with or use a book scenario, and the players make their choices on how to proceed, what they want to do, who they want to be. And I felt really bad when people were saying that the new handbook is missing things. The new handbook isn't missing anything, because it doesn't take anything away from everything that came before it. So, I am running 6 campaigns, like I said, and so far I have run 3 sessions of games with the new handbook options in play, where some players are using the old options and some players are using the new options, and it actually works just fine. It actually works just fine. Everyone is worried about compatibility, and that's something you only really have to worry about with digital tools. Errors can happen in digital tools, but a person running the game is not going to throw an error in their head and crash and not be able to continue playing. You just adjudicate and keep going. In one of my games, there's a new bard and a new barbarian and a new warlock alongside an old ranger, an old cleric, and an old druid. And that party is doing just fine. There's been no difficulty keeping the game flowing. I've only had to do a couple lookups in play, which is pretty standard for any sort of session, being able to have to flip through the book a couple times. That's something I have to do regularly, because I don't memorize everything. I memorize a lot of the stuff, but not everything. Then in my Exandria game, the Artificer Rogue multiclass changed the rogue side to be the new Assassin Rogue, and the new weapon masteries were pretty cool, mixed in with the Armorer Artificer abilities. They were doing some pretty cool tricks with that. I really like how weapon mastery has been implemented, and by taking that rogue dip, they've got it. And then in my... let's see now. Yes. And then in my Friday game, I'm running Quests from the Infinite Staircase. We just started that. Level 1 encounter, level 1 session last week, and I have someone using the brand new Ranger. And I had thought the new Ranger was bad. I didn't like the way it looked. I had assumed that most players playing Ranger would be using the old options. Someone's trying the new ones, and it's actually pretty good. It is so easy, and I think this is the mistake I've made. This is the mistake I've made when looking at the playtest documents and even all of the previews. Because when they were previewing the book, you never got the whole picture. When they were playtesting the book, it wasn't done yet, so whatever. Looking at too many options in isolation does not give you the full view of the whole package. At level 1, the ranger cast Hunter's Mark, pulled out 2 daggers, and made a pair of attacks for 2d4 for a total of 2d4 and 2d6 with the daggers and Hunter's Mark, and was an incredibly capable frontliner, like right off the bat. And I'm like, huh, that Nick weapon property is really good. The extra free castings of Hunter's Mark are really good. Now, player options. With regards to the player's options, I believe the more you let your players choose for themselves with these new options, the better everyone's experience is going to be at the tables in the games. If you want to start a brand new campaign and say we're only using the new book, I think that's kind of okay too, because then you're starting fresh, you're managing expectations. But I think the wrong way to handle this is to take an existing campaign and say everyone has to change. That's going to cause some problems for some players who are familiar with the options they've been using and don't want to change a character that's in the middle or near the end or near the beginning of a journey. So player choice is absolutely key. Then there's the back end. The back end rules are the DM's choice. And there's 3 major changes that I have given consideration to in my games. Number 1 being exhaustion, number 2 being the spells per turn rule, and number 3 being surprise. So 100%, I'm keeping 2014 surprise, and I'm keeping 2014 exhaustion. I like them better. I think they're more interesting systems. Floating numerical bonuses is not a system I like to engage with in 5e. It's too much to keep track of, in my opinion. I like things. I like the elegance of advantage, disadvantage, or just the halving of the speed or zeroing it out, as opposed to the continual sort of incrementation. The continual incrementation that feels wrong for 5th edition. Now, I am still going to try it in an upcoming game. I'm going to try it. We're going to see how it actually goes. But in my existing games, I'm going to be continuing to use the 2014 exhaustion and surprise rules. The new surprise rules are just a complete removal of the surprise mechanic, essentially. It just gives advantage or disadvantage on initiative checks, and that is far less impactful than I like surprise to be in my games. Some of the most epic moments have been surprises when either the players were ambushed or the players ambushed a group of monsters. Some of those scenarios have been the most epic, and I'm not going to take that away. I'm not going to take that away from my players. So, the third rule I've given consideration to is the spellcasting rule. Now, I think I like the new spellcasting rule more than the old spellcasting rule. Now, for those of you who are unaware about the nitty-gritty of this, the old rule was if you cast a spell with your bonus action, you cannot cast another spell as your action unless it is a cantrip, which meant that got shorthanded to you can only cast 1 leveled spell per turn, which isn't completely correct, but was correct enough in most instances that gave a proper approximation of how to adjudicate these things. The new rule is if you cast a spell that consumes one of your spell slots, you cannot cast any other spells that consume one of your spell slots in your turn. And I think that's elegant in a way, and that actually opens up more possibilities for power. Unlike the new rules for surprise and exhaustion, it's not just a flat reduction in potency. It actually opens up some more options. So if you use a wand, a staff, or a class feature that lets you cast a spell without consuming a spell slot, that then allows you to still cast another spell that turn with a spell slot, as long as you are, keeping into the regular bounds of the action economy for action and bonus action. So that's actually making me feel That makes me want to play a sorcerer. That makes me really want to play a sorcerer. But I don't actually play this game. I am a forever DM. I'm running 6 campaigns. I don't know if I'd be able to fit in a campaign as a player, but that's the way it is. So, in summary, the new rules work fine with the old rules for character options, letting players choose how they build their class, how they choose their subclass, how they choose what spells to prepare, and how they choose which feats. They should absolutely have that choice in just about every situation. Don't force these changes on people. That's gonna give players a poor experience. And I'm not running these games to give my players a poor experience. I want everyone at the table to have a fun time, and when people get to choose, that is so fun. Now, unless you're running a hardcore style game like I also am, where all these decisions are rolled, if you roll for stats and roll for species and roll for background, then that can be some very potent spell casting. Pardon me, some potent storytelling as well. So, in conclusion, once again, player choice is key. The new rules are backwards compatible with the old ones, and it's the DM's choice how they want to handle the back end systems. And there's more options than ever before for DMs as well. I'm not saying you shouldn't use all of the 2024 systems for surprise and for exhaustion, for example. I'm saying that I don't like them, and that's my choice. Alrighty. Thank you very much for joining us for Does Anyone Speak Giant?